Hi, I am Jeff Doss from Rustburg, Virginia, and I am a martial arts school owner and a sport martial arts competitor that focuses on traditional forms, creative forms, weapons, and also sparring. And I represent Team Revolution.
Hi, my name is Klos. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I compete in traditional forms and point fighting, and I represent Team Revolution.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, sure, why not?
I'm going first.
All right. What's he gonna pick?
Oh, wow, all right.
Wait, just pick the top one. Just pick the top one.
I did the bottom. What you gonna do? All right, you ready? Yeah. What is your most embarrassing tournament moment?
Oh. I can't really think of it. Well, I don't really remember this, but when I was, my very first tournament, I did my kata on like a boxing ring type stage at Kumite Classic. And as soon as I was done, I just ran off the stage. And then they called us back up for trophies, and I started like crying because I did not want to go back up there. So, I mean, I feel like that would be the most embarrassing that I can think of, at least.
Okay. See, I have like 20 different things run through my head right now.
Oh boy.
Let's go, mine's in a boxing ring as well. So first big tournament, I was 10 years old, compete nationals, and at that time it was in like a kickboxing ring. And I walk in, I bow, and I go up, introduce myself, and I just walk back. And I keep walking back until like I hit the ropes and bounce off, and then I start my form. And yeah, so that was like the first experience of going to the national circuit. So
this is in the boxing ring. Where was it?
At in California.
Okay.
Yeah. So years ago, that was 1994. Okay.
I wasn't
born yet. You weren't even born yet.
No, I was not alive yet. All right. Let's see. Tell us about training. How do you train? What is your mindset? Does a tournament change your process?
Yes to all the things. All right. So you said, tell us about training.
Yes.
So for me, I run a martial arts school full-time. So I do, as we noticed this weekend, I do my training in the morning. You're more of a late night person. So I'll go and do my strength training and different things in the morning, and then I will start working and training in between classes, because I do classes in the daytime and I do Zoom classes. Sometimes I'll do some of the training with my students as they're going. So training's like just a never-ending process of, I think of teaching and training all as one. As far as my mindset towards training, it's all just, how is this going to get me to where I want to be, to my goals, but also to the next level, right? Especially now, this week is like my 35th year in martial arts, so it's trying to think of, I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to just stay where I'm at, or, all right, you've done all this, that's great. No, like, what's the next step? What's the next level for you to take it at? And also, especially like when I'm training, especially doing forms, it's got to look like a fight, right? So that's my mindset with everything, is what's the application of it? And a lot of times, I won't just work the form, I work on the self-defense with a partner, and that will actually help me more than just run through the form by myself. Is getting that, the more that the audience and the judges feel it, the better, right? So, and does the tournament change my process? It may change it as far as like having, if I say like I have 3 weeks till the next tournament, certain things need to be focused on more. You know, for me it's balance and stability, because of me being a kicker and having to hold different things. So that's got to be the main focus over this next few weeks to get ready.
I like what you said about how the audience and the judges need to like almost see and be able to visualize. Like one thing that Joey Castro talks about all the time is like, if he is watching your form and he can't actually visualize the fight, it's like, not a good form.
Right,
like,
right.
And that's
exactly
what we kind of strive for, is like, you want to almost be able to see, like, yes, it's an imaginary fight, as we say, but you should be able to see the opponent. You should be able to see them taking their blows. That's how you kind of, that's what needs to be seen. And if you can't do that, then I'm kind of the same way now. I'm like, that's okay. You got the pattern.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's more than just remembering moves, right? And I guess a lot of times that always gets me is that people think that just for traditional forms. And I feel the same way when it comes to open style forms too.
Absolutely.
And that was kind of always my thing. It's like I had a little bit of fun in there, entertainment factor, but everything that I did made sense for and it was all martial arts, right? And the intensity, like it needs to look like I'm mad because a bunch of people jumped me, right? Right?
I remember you take like a water bottle and just like smack against your head.
Yeah.
The years ago. Then there's also one, I don't know how recent it was, but you almost like jumped and like elbowed the ground.
Yeah, I do an elbow drop every now and then. Yeah, that's fun. Awesome. Anything else?
What should I talk about? My
Yeah,
okay.
we kind of touched a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So as far as like training goes, you're right. I am like more of a late night person, but throughout college, I did do stuff in the morning, especially when I had class at like 11:15. I would get up early, go to the gym in the morning. Even before I would do some like private lessons and stuff in the morning, like for training for myself, not like teaching kids.
Right.
But let's see, what was all that? Yeah, so training is more, I like to be around people training.
Okay.
Training by myself, it worked. It worked during COVID.
Yeah.
But I would much rather be in in the area with like the energy of like everybody training.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't have a ton of that in my school because we're mainly fighters. I'm like one of the few people that really do trad. So I go to like Joey Castro's school, and that's probably the best training I have. Is there's like Ed, there's Amber, there's Kaio. They're all like super traditional people, like driving and working as hard as possible. That energy, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I went to there's a Series A tournament in Vancouver. Even in the warm-up area, we had like an hour and a half before competition. That energy is what I like training in.
Right.
Everyone's super serious. No one's talking to each other. Like, I had friends there. Like it was like, oh, morning, and that was it.
Yeah.
No normal conversation.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, but as far as how do I train, I'll go. Weightlifting is big, but I also train that in a way that's more explosive, not just how much can I bench.
Right.
Like that's fun to throw on weights, but that's not optimal for sparring or kata.
Right, for what we do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Usually throughout the week, I'll have 1 or 2 privates, whether it's with like Ariel, Joey. Ariel Torres is like my main kata coach. That I work with him, talk to him about it, but Joey will help me. My friend Kaio De Silva, we like train together, so we'll jump on like a FaceTime call and just train for 2-3 hours.
That's cool.
Together, not like really helping each other, but just doing drills back and forth.
That's sweet.
So that's really fun. We just started that earlier in the summer.
That's cool.
But
yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I had like for 10 years, from like 14 to 24, I was training at my home by myself. So I'm just used to that type of thing. And then when I opened my school, it was like, all right, I have a school, but I always end up teaching when other people are around. So doing it myself kind of keeps it to where it's me focused on my goals right then.
Teaching's very important too.
It helps so much, but I always find myself, if I have all right, we're gonna have an open workout, I'm gonna try to do stuff, but it usually ends up being me helping everyone else, which helps me grow just in a different way, right?
Anytime I do like come back from a seminar or a lesson, like I try to teach whatever I learn as soon as possible because that helps me understand it.
Yep.
Like she's like a brown belt, but she said something when I was trying to explain something new, and it just made it click for me. I was like, oh, like, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
And like so I almost need to teach it for me to understand it more.
One of the things that we're starting to push in my school is teach, train, test, right? Just always going through that cycle of teaching it, training it, testing it, and just that way and then you start all over again. Cool, you ready to go to the next one?
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite food to eat before and after a competition? We may have similar on this one.
So like before, like day of, I don't eat a ton in the morning. Like I'll do like some sort of like protein shake.
Yeah.
Nothing super heavy, but also like some people will just like, I'll eat a granola bar. No, I need more than that. I need some fuel in my system.
Okay.
So like my go-to is usually like a chocolate flavored protein powder, throw some milk, a banana, and peanut butter in there, blend it up. That's like my morning.
Okay.
Afterwards, sushi.
Yeah.
Lots of sushi.
Sushi.
Ramen, hibachi. For years, we would go to a tournament, then with like my home team, we would go to a hibachi after.
Nice.
And that's kind of like a tradition.
That's cool. Yeah, for me, it was the day before a tournament, I would go have sushi. And that is the reason why my nickname is Sushi Doss. So, and that's kind of where that came from. But as far as before I compete, a lot of electrolyte drinks, coconut water, things to keep me hydrated are the main things. And then fruit and like a protein drink, something like that. Or banana as well.
I always have a banana in the morning.
And then after...
More sushi?
Yeah. Sushi or like whatever is, we've talked about this before. One of the only things we really get to do and experience when we travel to these different places is either the convention center or the hotel, but at least going to get to like the local foods is at least one way to kind of experience that, right? So I try to do that as much as I can, but it's hard because usually right after it's like, all right, get ready for finals.
Yep.
And that's always my thing. So yeah, just whatever is local, but yeah, noodles or something Asian type food is always good. Anything else?
Sushi, lots of sushi.
See, we're good. Neither of us said like sweets and all this stuff. No.
The closest we got to that was a chocolate protein powder. What's been your peak achievement? Where do you go from here?
I don't know. That's a hard one. I guess right now, currently, my peak achievement is actually what I've been doing as a competitor, actually making a difference on the circuit with the promoters because of me coming back and competing and being on stage and being highly competitive, doing Korean forms. Now the circuit is trying to find ways to push that as well and respect that. So now there's been something this year on NASCA called the Korean Challenge that I was a part of, and that really is a cool thing because I was a promoter for years and made moves that way, but now as a competitor making moves that affect not just me, but also like the kids and things like that, because there wasn't anything for junior competitors in Korean forms, and now NASCA, because of the work that I've done and others, other competitors and promoters, and the work I've been doing as in the podcast as well with Inside Scoop, has made it to where they're wanting to add that to there. So now there's going to be junior Korean divisions for those Taekwondo competitors or Tang Soo Do competitors that don't get the opportunity or never did, right?
It's just called like trad forms.
It's just traditional forms, yeah. And so
gotta separate.
And really, like, we know it's when the Japanese forms are the popular thing, well, everyone's going to go to that. So there's so many Taekwondo schools that have to learn karate forms to even be able to compete. And so that's not necessarily fair, it's not right. But at the same time, it took someone who really wanted to put that on their back, to really say. So for me, it's just, that's probably my biggest thing for me currently, right? There's a lot of wins and things and streaks and records and stuff that I've accomplished. But I think for that, being able to, as a competitor, effectively make change in the sport is really cool.
And it's hard too, like what you said about Korean or Taekwondo schools trying to do the Japanese forms. It's so hard to switch. Yeah. Like there's been 2 students that I have that I'm trying to, they want to learn Japanese forms.
Right.
They have such a Korean base, and not that it can't be done. It absolutely can be done, but it's a lot harder work. There's a lot of like habits you have to break. You move differently.
Right.
Like, they might look similar, but it's so different.
Yeah.
Like the big thing too is hips. The way a Japanese move their hips is completely different.
Yeah.
And they'll even do the form and it'll look okay, but it's like there's something missing. It's usually their hips.
Yeah.
Like how they, and you don't want to wait, I don't want to say waste time. You want to go like all the way to the beginning where it's boring, but you kind of need to learn how to use your hips. If you don't use your hips, don't generate power.
Exactly.
Take away from that look.
Yeah, and there's just ways to do that, right? So, But yeah, and then where to go from here? It's, winning overall grands, but also creating students that do that as well, right? And helping them get to that point. So, and being a good leader for a Revolution as well. So as a player coach. So, all right, your turn. What's been your peak achievement?
Can't really think of one. I mean, I can think of like my, I don't want to say biggest because I have like grands titles and stuff before, but probably the most recent notable achievement was back in last year at Diamonds. Even though I didn't win grands, I finally like beat Joey Castro.
Right.
And like, he's a guy that is a mentor, he teaches me, but it's also he's a competitor against me. So the fact that I finally like beat him, that was probably that was huge for me.
Right.
Now, like, then I quickly went to Pan Am's after that, and then won both my Trad Challenge division and Japanese division, then won grands. So that might look bigger, but for me, like, beating Joey was
a key thing.
Much.
Well, because without that wouldn't have gotten you to Pan Am's.
Right.
I mean, honestly, it probably wouldn't have happened, right? Without you had to get over that peak, over that hump of beating that person to get to that next level. You know?
Oh, hey, look, this dude's good.
Right. It molded you to that.
And then like I won a WKC world title at Worlds in 2021. That was pretty big as well. Hopefully I can want to win grands again this coming Worlds. But as far as where do I go from here, I'm looking to move more towards like NKF, WKF tournaments.
Right.
So placing higher there, hopefully eventually winning. Yeah. There's a lot of good competitors in that.
Right. Yeah.
But that's my goal to eventually win nationals. Might take a while, but that's my goal.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I know for me, it's just like whatever comes, like it's coming to you. Those opportunities coming for a reason, right? So you want to take all those opportunities that you can. So it's not always like for me. I didn't necessarily think that going to AAU nationals for Taekwondo was something that I wouldn't think about that 2 or 3 years ago, but it kind of came and I was like, all right, let's go. And I went and did it and won. And then, all right, on to the next thing. I didn't think that even be able to compete at a ITF world level is an opportunity, but now certain people are reaching out to me, hey, I think you can do this. So that'll be a whole nother training, of trying to do that. But yeah, I know for me, it's being able to win on different circuits too, right? I've won NBL, I've won NASCA, I've won WKA, I've won ISKA, I've won a lot of different things and AAU now, and I think that is what really is cool about our sport is that it's good and bad, right?
Right.
Because we need, there's a bunch of different circuits, we need more unity, but if you're able to adapt and adjust to different rules and different styles and different judges and different systems, then you are gonna be better in your normal day life as well, because you're gonna be able to adapt to different situations that come up. Too many people are just, well, this is where it works for me, and that's great. There's elements for those people, or places for those people in life and work, but for what we do, it really is effective.
Like we have NASCA, who's like huge in performance, but you have NKF, AAU, WKF, who's very much like technique based.
Right.
Power, speed. But look, not that they don't care, but like they don't need the 30-second key eyes.
Right. Exactly.
They just want that quick, but they want the power and they want to see all that.
They want to feel it. I think it's the thing, right? We good on that? That was fun.
Let's see. If you had to learn a weapon you've never used before, what would it be and why? Which weapon would you least like to learn?
That's hard for me because I do a lot of weapons. If you had to learn a weapon. All right, so here's one that's crazy. All right, I've used it, but I'm not very good at it. And so I would say the 3-sectional staff. I think a lot of the soft style, like the Kung Fu weapons are really cool to learn. Like either that or you seen like the butterfly knives? Like they're like hooks.
The hook blades?
The hook blade, there you go. The hook swords, and you can hook them to each other and swing it around.
Yeah, I have
I've
never used it, but I have.
Seems like death, right? That would be fun but scary.
Maybe you hook through the jaw and everything, and throw them. That's Mortal Kombat.
That's a little. Yeah.
But,
Mortal Kombat. Yeah, so
It's a great game, though.
that would be why, just because it's so difficult and cool. And I think, again, I always think of like how it would be on the circuit. Like, all right, that's something people don't do. So I think the only person I've seen had it was like years
Rashad?
ago.
Oh, I was gonna say Rashad. He uses everything.
No. Years ago, like in the 80s, people were doing it. But, and then at least, all right, I'm not gonna learn the fan, so just not doing it. Okay, all right.
So I don't use nearly as many weapons. I know the bow and the oar.
Right.
So commas always looked fun to me. Like, not even just the strikes. I can do basic 7.
Right.
Like, I feel like it's so hard to be like, what is it called? Ambidextrous, where you're doing one thing with one hand, the other hand. Like, that's like really hard to me.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
like
harder with
both
the
need the nunchucks too.
Yeah.
And then the sword. Like, again, I've done like basic stuff, but sword's just fun. I want to be a samurai. Come on now.
It's true. Most people, like in the martial arts realm, when they come in, like, well, what weapon do you want? Oh, I want to do the katana. I want to do the sword. So.
Oh, the whip chain.
Yeah.
That would be so cool too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah, I agree. The fan. I'm not gonna learn. The
Yeah,
fan.
no.
I'm gonna from that.
All right. All right. Who is your? Oh, okay. Who is your favorite sport karate competitor? What makes them so impressive? All right.
So that's hard because you have like point fighting, you have the CMX stuff, you have the trad stuff. We could do one of each.
Sure. Go.
Okay. So my favorite. This is really hard.
Of all time,
right.
current. See, we're gonna be a whole 20, 30-minute episode right here.
Okay. So favorite fighter. I think it's just fun to watch Billy Murphy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just faster and he's like known for throwing like wacky moves, just like from the most odd positions. Like he'll just be like falling backwards and suddenly like do like a 360 spin or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's fun to watch. And plus, he's just so much faster than everybody. Just like boom, boom, points. But I think years ago, watching Ray McDaniels and Trevor Nash, those are probably my favorite people to watch fighting. Like Nash was just like a bully with his sidekick.
Yeah.
And even it's like a big compliment to me. But Kyle Reed, he said he almost sees me like a Trevor Nash fighter, just 'cause I have that strong lead leg.
Yeah.
So that was like a huge compliment. He was like, "You remind me of Trevor Nash." I was like, "Oh yes." Like,
That's awesome.
CMX competitor. So there's a couple different things there. My favorite one to watch would probably be Rashad because he's so unique. Same thing with Salif, like with his hands. He doesn't have the basic, like you do some hand moves, then you do a trick pass, then you go back to doing hand moves, you walk all the way to the corner, turn it, look at the judges, yell, and then do the same trick pass diagonal. Like he's very unique with it. The same thing, Esteban, while he does follow that pattern, his tricks are crazy.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
And then I think, yeah, that's about it for that.
All right, traditional, go to.
Traditional, it has to be Ariel.
Yeah.
I mean, he's my coach too.
Right.
But there's no one, at least in the sport karate circuit, no one compares to him. Mason's very good.
Right.
Doesn't compare.
Right.
He's levels above him. We went to nationals, and the finals were Mason versus Ariel. But Ariel was like over a point higher. And to be over 1 full point higher, that's huge.
Right.
Like, yeah, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is there anything else?
It just said what makes him impressive, and you kind of said that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, see, this is hard for me because I'm such a historian, and even though I've been in this for 35 years, I also watch so much footage from the 70s and 80s as well. So for my favorite sport karate competitor, man, you know what? Honestly, one person that does it all, and that is Casey Marks Nash. And that is someone who was like my first.
So she does everything.
Yeah, she is one of the best at bow, one of the best traditional forms. She's done all different styles of traditional forms, and she's a great fighter. She has a diamond ring in forms and fighting.
That's very
one of the first. Yeah, she was.
Has it.
She was. I know she was the first one to do it, and she was also like one of my first friends on the circuit. She was from North Carolina. Her and her brother were great friends of mine, and just the intensity, the creativity, the focus that she has, I always just kind of fed off of that as a competitor and as a friend. So for me, that stage presence was something that's just like contagious, right? You just see like, whoa, all right. She's not just there for the judges, she's there to get everyone involved. And I think that's what's really cool. And just her longevity as well. And that's something that I, want to have as well. So she's probably the favorite overall. As far as for like, fighting, that's tough. I mean, you named several of them. One for me is Pedro Xavier. His kicking was just insane in the 90s and late 80s. Just the axe kicks, the side kicks, and it was ferocious, right? Like you felt it, right? And he would do a defensive side kick, but move forward on a defensive side. Like it was just so crazy, like stuff that you wouldn't see, like, wait a minute, what? Like someone would be blitzing and he would actually skip forward and push them all the way out of the ring. And he was also a great overall martial arts as well. He had a great Korean form, great flying combos. So that would be probably my favorite fighter that I could think of. Another person is Jason Tankson Borelli. Was a teammate of mine for many years on CJB and Elite, and could do it all, right? Forms, weapons, fighting, and myself, I'm more of a kicker in forms, and I can jump, but not like that. And so it was always impressive to see him jump and like kick a basketball goal with a jump front kick. Like that's cool, right? Hit the net and go through it. It was sweet. And then for traditional, and really overall, he doesn't just do traditional, right? But one of my toughest competitors and great friends and now teammate is Edgar Cordova, and him and I went back and forth in Korean and weapons for years since we both turned adult. And he was my toughest in Korean in the NBL days, where we would tie in the daytime and then go on stage to compete for the world title. We did that like 3 times against each other, like 3 years in a row. And just always, fun and one of my best friends. And then just watching him do his flying combos is always fun, right?
Absolutely.
One more person though was Keith Weston. Like Keith Weston to me is my favorite traditional like Japanese karate competitor ever because of the intensity and like everything he did you felt and you saw and you like experienced, right? And he's the only person I've never beaten in Korean too. So that
He did Korean?
He did Korean and for
I
like
would have to
3 years. Yeah, this was years ago. So, but that was when I was just kind of coming in. Like I think I was 18 the one time that I got to compete against him. But so I still hold that.
I mean, I've trained with him before, private lessons, and he's also a great friend of Bill's.
Yeah.
So at Amerikick and stuff, when he did come around, we would always talk. I remember the first time I saw him in, I can't remember what tournament it was, but he was working with Zoe Brown.
Right.
So he was her coach, and then he came to Kumite Classic, and everyone was like,
whoa.
Because I think he hasn't competed in years before.
When he
just
did
kind of, not necessarily came out of retirement, but he just kind of showed up.
Yeah.
And I remember him just like walking on stage and just like shouting like in this deep voice, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was just a different level, right? Yeah. All right. Oh, wait.
Top one.
All right. What is your favorite competition moment?
Like during a competition, something that happened to me, like.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I think initially, just going through like an entire tournament, I always look forward to like seeing all my friends there.
Right.
That's a huge thing, and that usually it's like Thursday. I still do train. I use it as like a tapering day where I'll run through my forms, I'll stretch, I'll still do everything. Nothing super hard. I don't want to injure myself or wear myself out or make myself sore for the next day. So it's just like a relaxed day. I'll get there, and it's always nice walking into the hotel and immediately seeing all these people that I know. And I'm like, oh, I gotta go say hi to this person, that person, that person. Then we go to the warm-up area, or just to train a little bit. You see more people.
Right.
So it's always just like more of a fun day. We also use that day to maybe explore a little bit.
Right.
But again, you don't want to do too much before you compete.
Right.
And then usually the next day comes. It's like Friday, Saturday. it's always stress. And as soon as I wake up, I'm almost immediately stressed. But then I'll go to warm up and I'll put my headphones in, and people talk about this all the time. I'll start like dancing, singing, like so like I'm like in the zone, but like I'm not one of those people who just have to sit in a chair and just like stare at a wall.
Right.
Like I know people like that, and they're like, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay, like I'm more just relaxed.
Right.
But I'm in the zone. So, and that's also really fun. Like just, chilling out, listening to music, running, doing some punches.
That's cool.
So, and then I'll, of course, after the nighttime show, I'm just with friends, hanging out, doing whatever.
Yeah.
So that's always probably the most memorable part of a tournament is what happens after. Because I mean, let's be honest, you're at a tournament, I do 3 divisions, sometimes 4. So how long am I really competing of the entire 3-4 days?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour.
Right.
If there's like a ton of people in fighting.
Right.
Maybe an hour.
Right.
So if you just go there and you just only focus on that, and you just kind of, I don't want to say you're wasting time, but like it's a completely
there's so much more to do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, very similar to me as far as the favorite moments of competition, and just I go through a similar thing, except I don't listen to music. Like my music is in my head, and I just start. I'm not a singer, but I'll start kind of going through it and saying like, but it's weird. Like I rarely put earbuds in and listen to, like I'm just kind of into it, my own kind of mindset. And yeah, I mean, hanging out with friends, meeting people, talking to people. But yeah, I know there's certain people that just don't want to talk to you if we're competing against each other. Like Joey will not talk to me until we are both done. And sometimes I forget that. And for me, so I don't get in that zone until it's almost right when the division starts, right? And so, especially if we're on stage or someone's going, the 2 people in front of me are going, or if it's maybe my biggest competition, I'll stay right there. When I was younger, I didn't want to watch anyone else compete. Now I stare them down. Like it's kind of messed up. But I'm like walking across the ring and I'm just staring at them bouncing, like looking like I'm gonna kill them, right? And it's just me going like they're trying to take something that's mine. I know that's not necessarily the case, but that's what I have to get.
Take your win.
Right. And so I got to get into that mindset, that warrior's mindset of just, all right, you're here to do what you do. No one can do it the way you do it. Do it your way, not because too many competitors want to be like someone else. They want to be this or that, and they don't stand out, right? And so for me, I've never done that. I've always done paved my own path. When everyone was flipping in open forms, I focus on kicks. When everyone's doing Japanese forms, I do Korean forms. Things like that, right? So that's what's helped me. I'm not saying everyone has to do exactly what I do, but that's what's helped me be able to do this forever, because I've always found things, new goals to push, not just new things to win, but new areas to be like, okay.
Make yourself
stand out, make myself stand out or carve my own path, right?
I think that applies to everything too. Like, again, Joey's said this many times, especially to me, because Ariel's my coach.
Right.
So he teaches me how he does it. Joey's very good at, no, that doesn't look right, because Ariel's short. Like I'm 6 foot, so like my arms are awkwardly long.
Right.
So there are some things that he can get away with, little extra moves to generate more power that just look wrong on me.
Right.
So Joey's like, you can't do kata like Ariel does kata. You gotta do kata like Cam does kata.
Exactly. So,
and I'm still figuring that out myself. Because again, you want to be like Ariel's probably one of the fastest people.
Right.
So obviously I want to be fast, but I can't like the way he does.
Yeah.
Like I need to find, like for me, I'm strong, so I need to show that strength a little more than he does.
Yeah.
So and plus kata wise too, there's for years it'll be like everyone does Ansu, or like everyone's learning to do Ansu, and then it's going to Chatanyara, and then it's Super Empe, and then judges just get like tired. They're like, another Ohondai, another Chatanyara. So you need to find something that's different, but then also it's like, well, that's what's winning.
Yeah.
So I want to be like, need to show that I'm doing Ohondai better,
right,
or stronger than this person.
Right.
But then you have, and I know Joey's mentioned this before, there's one judge who, if he sees the kata more than once, He's like, no, I don't care how good it is. Like, neither of them are getting my win, which it shouldn't be that way at all. But it is because, let's be honest, judging is very subjective.
Yeah.
And that's probably the hardest thing about our sport is, not fighting, but kata-wise, it's subjectivity. You might get, I don't know, say one judge loves kicks. So I need to do a kata like Chibana Kushanku, like the Shotokan version. It's a nice high side kicks, show off those.
Correct.
Someone's like, oh, if you can do like some sort of jump or like Ansu or Tanyara, if you can really stick that's like their win condition there. It's almost like the rest of the form can be bad, but if they do really good side kicks or a really good jump, their mindset, oh, they won.
That's true.
And it should not be that way,
right.
but that's what it is because it's how subjective.
I always think of, you could have an awesome form, but like what stands out? Like what makes you like stand out from the pack? Because there's some people who just don't mess up, but they don't have the power, they don't have that extra element that makes them good to great, right? And that's
Everyone
what it
needs
is.
to have like a win condition.
Yeah, you got to have something that makes you stand out from the pack, and so that's always one of those things.
So when I train a form, like every section, I'll focus on like what's the win condition of that section, whether it's again like I mentioned the side kicks, whether it's dropping into your knee to block like that. I mean, I just learned Chibata. That's what's in my head right now.
Yeah.
But like doing that really hard move, doing the front kick, dropping into a low block like on your knee, and then coming right back up. That's like the win condition of that section. So you got to train that over and over and over. And you move to the next section. Yeah. You got to find.
You got to do sections. A lot of people think that just run through the form and then and it's like no, like everything is sectioned. That's something you hear a lot more of in open forms, and I think now more people are doing it in traditional. But the other moment for me is like right after that, of that walking down, and then I get pumped up and ready to go. Right, for me, my favorite moment is that like minute before I'm about to go, and then when it's like, this is my moment, this is my ring. It doesn't just start when the form begins. It starts after the other person. Yeah, and it's like I'm hitting myself over the head with a water bottle, I'm breaking a board over my head, I'm doing whatever. I push down somebody, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I just getting pumped up and I walk on that stage or that ring and I own it. And that's very, exciting, right? So as far as an actual moment that like I could think of, for me, winning my first NBL Super Grands was something that escaped me for a long time. I won like NASCA my second year. I won ISK title. I won WKA. I won overseas. I won a lot of stuff within my first 5 years of competing as a black belt. But winning NBL took me forever, and took me like 11 years to win as Super Grands. I won all the NBL tournaments, all of the Grands that I went to, everything. But winning at Super Grands at the end of the year was just something I just couldn't figure out. And 2009, a month, 3 weeks before, I fracture my ankle.
Oh no.
And I literally get off crutches and get on the plane and I go and compete. And I'm like, I'm winning, I don't care. I'm like, I'm not, and I do 3 divisions and I was judging the whole week too. So I was on my feet. It was not the smartest thing, right? But
probably not.
The last division was the Open Musical, and I brought back a form that I did as a junior to Intergalactic, Beastie Boys Intergalactic. And I tied Josh Durbin 3 times, and both of us went back and forth. And I beat him during the day to make it to the finals, and then did it and finally won. And that kind of created a streak where like I won every year after that, right? But I went from not having any titles to end up having the most in like 3 different divisions from that moment. And for me, it was just that anytime, that moment for me is special because no matter what was coming from it, I was just gonna push through it. That was just that thing, that mindset that you can do it. And I'm not like a crier, but that was the one time that I think I kind of got emotional, because it's like I finally pushed myself to that point that I need to get to the level that I always thought I could be at. Right?
NBL was one of those, like I competed for years, Super Grands we did pretty consistently, but I never won it. I got third.
Right.
And it was actually in continuous fighting, which I don't really do anymore.
And see,
but
that my first 2 times I was ever on stage was for continuous.
Oh, really?
Not for forms. Yeah.
Continuous is like, I don't know, just the way NBL did it, I like it better than most other circuits. Like they actually have points.
Yeah, it was points. Yeah.
And then there was also like, not that penalties make a huge difference, but like there was actually a way to keep you from just blasting the person in the face.
Right.
Turning
Over and
into a
over.
boxing match.
Yeah. All right. Tell us about nerves. How do you feel pre-competition during the event? We've kind of just talked about this, so this is awesome. It's funny how both of us. All right. This last question. What is your favorite moment? And we all said, our favorite is having nerves. But why do you think that nerves is a big deal? I always tell you, if you're nervous, that means you care, right?
Absolutely.
So like, would you think the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, nerves is like, at least for me, competing, it's the morning of, like I said, as soon as I wake up, like Friday, Saturday, I can almost feel it in my stomach. Like, not that I'm gonna throw up or anything, but it's just like little, like, they call it like butterflies or whatever. Just that feeling. And then I'll get to the competition and they'll be gone. Yeah. But then when I'm like the next division, or even, because you said some seated, most of the time towards the end, it's once we bow in, and then like, oh, okay, I have like 6 people before me, or something like that. That's whenever the nerves like really
start coming,
And then, but just like, whether it's fighting or it forms, as soon as I walk on the mat, they're gone. So it's, I don't know why, but it's always like a good thing. And if I'm not nervous about it, I feel like I don't compete as well.
Right.
It's a really weird, because people are like, oh, you should be comfortable by now. You've been doing this since you were 4. It's like, yeah, but it's still a
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. If it wasn't, I wouldn't do it. Right. If it wasn't a hard thing. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that. Just the nerves. I love that pre-competition feel. For me, like as far as something that I do, like I said, I don't really, I do all the warm up and everything. But now as I'm older, like I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of just praying and sitting and thinking. Stretching comes, but I do it differently now, more dynamic stretching to get prepared. And because like I don't really like have a coach per se, I'll go to some people, but I know for me, if I'm going to ask him for too much advice, that means I'm not as confident in myself. So I need to be like, okay, wait a minute, don't worry about that. You got it figured out.
I like
this
that.
Is,
Because again, being that Joey's kind of one of my coaches, but also a competitor, we'll always talk before. And I was like, oh, what kata do you think it should do? Or if I'm thinking, and sometimes, and it's really bad, but sometimes it's like in the middle of the division, I'll see, for example, an Ameri kick. Rodrigo Madrid and David Adi did Ohandai. And I was like, well, that's what I was gonna do. It's like, should I change it? So that doubt gets in my mind, and I feel like I need to have that confidence. Like, no, I'm better than that. I eventually did do Ohandai, but that kind of took me out of like preparing and like.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same mindset. Like we're going in there for a fight, right? No matter if it's fighting or anything or forms, we have to control the ring, right? We can't. And if you're fighting against someone else, it's whoever implements their game plan better, whoever controls that ring. Counter fighters can do well if they know how to control you, to set you up, right? But if you're just well, let's see what they do. Well, then you are always. It's just like in self-defense. If you're always on the run, eventually they're going to get you, right? You have to eventually. You can't stand still and just be like, I'm going to stand here. I'm just going to punch you. No, you need to move forward. You see something happen, you got to go through it. It's the same mindset that you need to have when you're doing your forms or anything. I'm here to do what I'm here to do. Not worried about what everyone else is doing, And even for me, for years, I didn't do certain forms because everyone was doing them. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm at this point now, I can do whatever I want to do. So, and people aren't doing those forms all the time anymore. So maybe I'll do a gay back. Maybe I'll do a Yusin that no one has seen me do since 2008 or something like that, right? So I can do anything because I'm going there with the focus that it's my time to show, right? And somebody, well, those forms, judges don't understand. So what? They will if I do it, right? If I do it correctly, then like it can't always be about just this one competition. How is this going to lead me to the next, right? Like last year at Diamonds, I did Moon Moo, which is one of the most hardest forms. And people were like, yo, yeah, you're doing everything slow motion. You're doing a spin hook kick all the way around slow motion. You're doing slow motion side kicks. And people were like, dude, that's so difficult. Like, yeah, well, I have to do this. For me, I felt like I had to do it to get over that hump, to get over that fear of, if not, I'd always be afraid of doing, like, so worried about messing up. Well, if you're always worried about messing up, you're never gonna do the hard things to get you to that next level. And so that was, for me, why, you know, people were like, oh, I think you could have had more intensity and stuff with Old G. Yeah, the next week I did, it didn't really work. So I've done that for years. It's time to move on to the next thing, right? All right, that was fun. All right, last one. What made you want to compete and what keeps you going when it gets tough? All right, what made you want to compete?
So, I feel like competition's always been part of it. 'Cause again, I started when I was 4.
Right.
So at Sensei Bill Viola's school, he ran Kumite Classic for years. So immediately it's like he had a tournament.
Right. So
his dad had a tournament. We were all always like thrown in there. So it was just something that I naturally was exposed to, I guess.
Right.
But then, sounds really dumb, but we had a team. We had Team Kumite, and we had our like blackies with like a yellow like V and stuff.
Yeah.
Right, real old rec suits. I wanted that. So like, I don't know. I wanted that gear.
You wanted that.
It kind of sounds dumb, but then so we had our team trial, and like team trials have changed now, but before it was a huge group, and not everybody made it through. And then the last thing we had to do was we had to go to a tournament, and we had to finish first or second.
Oh, wow.
So, and I finished first in one of my divisions and second in the other one. So like I achieved that, and then I got
uniform.
that. And then,
awesome.
But it was almost like I got that second. I was like, well, I want to win that first.
Right.
So it's kind of like the whole idea of just dominating my divisions. Like that's what I want to do now. Like I still compete. And I go to see my friends,
right?
Because again, some of these people, like Alex Riggs, I've known since I was like 12 years old.
Exactly.
So like they're like lifelong friends at this point that I only see once a month, once every couple months. So that's part of it, to go to competition, but I still that drive to just dominate all my divisions.
Right.
That's what I want to do. So that's why I keep on pushing for trad too, because fighting is one that I still like to do. It's not my main focus.
Right.
I still train it a lot.
Right.
But there's also, I know people that are just strictly fighters.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to overcome those people.
Right.
Like we've mentioned Bailey Murphy,
right.
like Elijah Everall, even Kevin Walker. They only do their fighting. And also they have a little more experience. I mean, Bailey's constantly traveling all over the globe for it. For me, it's that trad form. I want to be able to dominate all year. I want to be that person that if I walk into a tournament, they see me, they're like, oh crap, Cam's here or something.
Right.
And I want to be that person who they strive to beat. So it's kind of just that goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So what made me want to compete? All right, so I got into martial arts because of pro wrestling. My favorite wrestler was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and he came into.
I have no idea who that is.
And it's okay. He come to the ring with a uniform, martial arts uniform, and a belt, and he was just awesome. And he was big in the area that I grew up in, the Mid-Atlantic area, the Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina area. And so that was what got me into martial arts. And then, literally like 2 or 3 months into it, I went to not just a regular local tournament. It was like a national tournament at that level. There wasn't NASCA yet, or NBL, it was called PKL and AKL. AKL was amateur karate league, PKL was professional karate league. So there was that kind of led into, when they split up, it was NASCA and NBL after that. And so I was like a little kid, you know, and just then the divisions were 7 under and I was like 4, and I just remember looking up and like, okay. But the best thing that my parents did was take me to the finals, the nighttime finals. And I remember seeing competitors do demos and do forms. I saw a local competitor who was actually from my same town that was a world champion, Seneca Luther, and he had this crazy mohawk and did all this awesome stuff with his combos. But then I also found John Valera, who ended up becoming my coach. and now he is one of the biggest stunt coordinators and choreographers, fight choreographers in the world. And he's known as one of the best forms and weapons competitors ever. And that was where I saw him first. And both of those two people still are a part of my style now, even to this day. And so those are the ones that made me compete. And then also there was a cool thing called Karate Helps Kick Diabetes. And it was a show that they would bring in all the top national competitors and winners and put on a show to help support children with diabetes and do all kinds of different raffles and all kinds of kick-a-thons and different things, but everyone performed and did their forms and stuff, and they had some set fights. And then they went around all the tournaments and sold the videotapes. And for me, that was like, all right, I want to be a national champion so that way I can get on that show. And I was able to do that 3 times before they stopped that, but that was a really cool, that was 98 when they stopped.
Before I was born.
Yeah, so 96, 97, 98. And what keeps me going when it gets tough? Now, you know, I'm 39 years old. There's a lot of things that get tough, right? Real life, running a martial arts school, family. Why are you still doing this? You know, why are you out there? Especially even now, when I'm 39, I'm competing in the 18 plus division. Why don't you just move up to the 30 division? Or why don't you just do 30 or just do 40 next year? I'm still winning. I'm still doing it.
Yeah, you still want to prove that, hey, look, I'm better than all these newcomers.
Right. But it's not even about just better than someone else. It's about like myself, right? That's what challenges me. That's what, for me, it's like, how am I inspiring others? How am I inspiring you guys? If I just say, all right, well, it's my time to move on, okay, but like, my instructor never quit. My instructor, one of my other instructors, Johnny Watts, he's 67, still going to the tournaments competing. When I moved to 18, he didn't just bow out every time we went against each other. No, he's like, I'm gonna push you and you're gonna earn it, you know? And that's the same thing now. Like, I don't think the competitors in the Korean division want me just to quit and just, you know, they wanna beat me.
Right.
And, you know, like I've been on streaks where I've only lost 3 or 4 times in the past 10 years in a men's Korean division or any circuit. And that's cool. And that's in some ways domination, but like, what's the next step from there, right? So I'm always thinking, what's next? How can I inspire the junior competitors to be better and be that, right? And to continue doing this as an adult. Because a lot of people, they quit as juniors, you know, and I want to show them there is more to this, you know. There is that opportunities for doing seminars and private lessons and meeting people and maybe even going to stunts and other things, right? There's so many things out there besides just the open circuit, like where you can go and travel and compete on the traditional circuit or doing photos, there's just so much. So don't limit yourself, right? And then again, what keeps me when it gets tough is like the friends you make, right? And even, I'll say this too, not always the friends, but the rivalries you make that push you to that next step, right? Because some of my best friends are also my biggest rivals.
Absolutely.
And like, I love hanging out with them. I hate competing with them because they get a little bullish, but yeah, I know it also makes me better, right? So.
Yeah, I guess I forgot about that
Yeah.
part of the question. But what you said about rivalries is, like, I completely agree with that because Diego Rodriguez, he's one of my best friends. I haven't known him that long, probably.
But you guys clicked.
Yes, we clicked pretty quickly. But he's at every tournament. We typically have been going back and forth.
Right.
There's been times where he's won a streak of tournaments, and I'm like, I gotta get over him because I mean, I don't want to say he's better than me or I'm better than him. We're pretty close, and that's kind of where that helps push me because I need to be that person, or I want to be that person who is just so much better than everybody else. You can't deny it because again, like I said before, there's politics and there's what do you call it? Subjectivity.
Yeah.
Right? Is that
bias?
So bias is subjectivity in our sport, which you'll never escape from, and it's in every sport.
Natural.
Yeah,
it's the way it is. Everyone has different perspectives and views
that's
on
not
things.
dissing like NASCAR or WKF. It's just everywhere in every sport.
Right.
But I want to what pushes me is wanting to be so much better that they cannot take away that win because they say, oh, I like that jump a little better than your punches or something like that.
Right.
I want to be so undeniably better
Right.
than them
Yeah.
or than anybody else in my division that I can just walk in and just.
Right.
Because again, if another rivalry, and again, I don't want to say rivalry with Joey, because he's someone I've known forever.
Right.
He teaches me, but I want to consistently beat him. That's a
Right.
goal, to beat him in
Right.
multiple tournaments in a row, not just Diamonds. Because
Right.
I haven't beaten him. No,
Since
I have beat him
even
one
once,
time since
yeah.
Diamonds.
Yeah.
But I think it was Diego who actually won that division.
Right, so you
Joey
won
got third,
yeah.
I got second, DG got first.
Right.
So it's like, beat Joey,
Right.
I didn't beat Diego.
Right.
So it's just
Yeah.
that whole.
I understand that. Well, I mean, for me, doing this for so long, it's still like I've done so many great things, but I still want to be mentioned in those names of being legend. And it's like, I feel like sometimes it's like you want to go from that. You feel like it's not always the truth, but you feel like undesirable, and you want to go to undeniable, right? It's like where people can't say like, dude, like, no, it's undeniable. You have done this for a long time, but you've also won. You've won everything there is, and you've pushed your competitors, you know? And like, that's the biggest compliment I get or the coolest is that Joey says, I always push them, no matter what, you know? And that's you know, and top competitors to say that, that's great, right? And that's what you want. And then that you inspire the next generation to be better than you. So, cool. We're empty. We're empty. It's fun. That was awesome.